I move that this bill be now read a second time. At the moment, people driving on CityLink and EastLink without paying a toll can receive a maximum of 1 fine per day, regardless of how many trips are made. This can be found in Section 73, Part 4 of the Melbourne CityLink Act 1995 and Section 204, Part 7 of the EastLink Project Act 2004. This makes a number of changes to how our legal system handles toll fines. The key change is to make this a maximum of 1 fine per 7-day period. This sounds like a minor change, but it takes us from a system that doesn't work to one that does. So what's wrong with the current system? Under the current system, drivers on CityLink, like EastLink, are charged a separate fine for every day of driving without paying a toll. This adds between $160 to $367 for every day of driving and can very quickly spiral out of control. One of the best ways to illustrate the problem is with a case study put together by a group of community legal centres. Kate lives in Tarneit, is the mother of 2 toddlers and had never had a fine before. But then one of her toddlers got sick needed ongoing hospital care. For months, she found herself driving to and from the hospital, as well as working part-time, as well as looking after her other toddler. She struggled to find time to even open her mail. She thought she would just get through this stressful period and sort out the tolls later. When she did, 45 days of driving without paying tolls had become more than $10,000 worth of fines. To put this in perspective, if Kate had committed a serious crime, like assaulting someone, she probably would have paid a fine that was less than a quarter of this amount. The current system is also a major headache for the courts. At the moment, half of all our fines that have reached the enforcement stage in Victoria are for driving without paying tolls on CityLink and EastLink, and those fines are clogging up our courts. The Royal Commission into Family Violence report stated that the Magistrates' Court is, quote, "The Magistrates' Court is confronting unprecedented demand pressures," end quote. In fact, in 2015-16, the court heard 45,834 charges of driving without paying tolls on CityLink. It was the most common charge heard. That year, the court heard more than 3 times as many toll charges as it heard charges of contravening a family violence order. The Royal Commission expressed frustration that low-level offences, like driving without paying tolls, were taking up too much court time that's needed for dealing with matters like family violence. The Greens bill limits the number of fines that can be issued to a driver who doesn't pay their tolls to 1 every 7 days. People will still need to pay tolls that they owe, and certainly paying tolls before it becomes a fine will be the more affordable option. Our bill simply makes the fine more proportionate to the offence. Under our bill, a person who drove for a week without paying tolls could find themselves paying a fine of around $350, enough to make paying tolls a good idea, but not the $2,500 or so that they are currently charged. People facing the court for more serious crimes like shoplifting, assault or drink driving are currently likely to get fines closer to $1,500. Limiting fines to 1 every 7 days will also bring some much needed relief to our court system by limiting the number of cases that end up there at all. If Kate had just received 1 fine for every 7 days, she might have found herself facing a few $1,000s in fines instead of more than $10,000. She might even have been able to find a way to pay this without ever needing to speak to a lawyer. Let me move now to the details of the bill. Besides the change of 1 fine in a 7-day period, it also makes 6 more minor changes. 1. Clauses 4 and 12 of the bill allow the Minister to set minimum requirements for which toll operators must meet when recovering tolls. This could include, for example, having adequate complaints procedures. 2. Clauses 6 and 14 of the bill allow the court to waive an administrative fee for people facing hardship. 3. Clauses 7 and 15 stop the toll road operators from contacting police if the toll and the toll administration fee have been paid according to the rules in the CityLink and EastLink contracts. 4. Clauses 8 and 17 clarify that Vic Roads can pass email addresses and phone numbers to the operators of CityLink and EastLink for following up on unpaid tolls. This will help avoid the situation where people who haven't kept their address details up to date with Vic Roads, are homeless or away from their home address, suddenly find that they are accumulating weeks or months' worth of fines. 5. Clauses 9 and 18 to prevent court proceedings from being started for offences which are already more than 15 months old. 6. Clauses 10 and 19 list a series of new areas which may be covered by regulation, including criteria for waiving court administrative fees and the period of time in which records of non-payment of tolls must be destroyed. To some people in the chamber, these changes may seem oddly familiar. This is because we didn't write them. A group of community lawyers have been working hard on this issue for over a year, from West Justice, Moonee Valley Legal Service, Victoria Legal Aid, Brimbank Melton Community Legal Centre, and Peninsula Community Legal Centre. The Labor government took their concerns on board and included changes to toll enforcement in their draft Westgate Tunnel project bill. This was published online in December 2017, and Labor says that the bill will be introduced in this Parliament before construction of the Westgate Tunnel is complete. This means we might be waiting until 2022 to debate that bill. Our bill takes the toll enforcement parts of the Westgate Tunnel project bill almost word for word and introduces them now. This bill enables the toll infringement system to distinguish between those who can't pay and those who won't. It provides for early intervention for those in genuine hardship and frees up our courts to deal with more serious matters like family violence. We know that these changes to our toll fine system are the right thing to do. They're the right thing to do for people caught up in toll fines. They're the right thing to do to make our courts work. So let's do it now. I commend this bill to the House.
Hear, hear.